On stage, yes. Good afternoon at this moment, which is called Dead Man's Hour, because everybody is full of lunch and the blood is not here, but a bit lower, working very hard. I will introduce myself. I'm Meuleman. I'm always happy to be able to say I'm one of you. I was 40 years a civil servant at the Dutch regional level, at the Dutch national level, and at the European Commission in DG Environment. And since I retired, I'm a researcher and consultant, and always on sustainability governance issues. After this morning in a smaller group, having had discussions on storytelling and learned a lot about that and from each other, I would now go back to, let's say, your core work and the challenges there. And first give a short introduction, which may even take 10 minutes, I'm sorry, but it's, and tomorrow I will give a longer version of the same introduction, but there should be some overlap, I think, for today and tomorrow. And this introduction will touch upon around 7 issues that you will be familiar with. And after the presentation, I would like to have a discussion with you on the challenges you now experience, lessons learned, hopefully also some failures that you have managed to get through and to turn around into something positive. And I will then focus only on 3 issues, but that's open to you. So, for an introduction, and also welcome to people online. I think there are people online following this, so it's good. The central theme is what role for European cities in the multi-level governance of the 2030 agenda and beyond. And in setting the scene, this is of course the first thing that springs to mind. Today's context is extremely dynamic and unpredictable. And there's a term for that, VUCA. Volatility is high, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity. And we need all to deal with that and find responses to these challenges. The PowerPoint will be available also afterwards. And we have not just one crisis, but we have what we call cascading crises of all kinds. Right? Like we are in a situation where all levels of government are facing a series of crises. And that also means that it is difficult to set new ambitious goals and targets. And the coming years will be much more about implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals and how this was translated in national or local city plans. And it's indeed difficult to tell the sustainability story in times of crisis and war. One risk is, what I've seen in some countries, is that the focus very much on crisis management, which is quite addictive, because in a crisis, when there's a crisis, you have a crisis team, you have lots of availability of money, of staff to deal with the crisis. And if one crisis is followed by the other one, then it becomes a kind of a new normal. And I've seen in European countries that national governments are now using emergency legislation procedures that were designed for the COVID crisis, also for non-urgent issues, because it's so nice to be so powerful. But that is a risk, and there's also another risk, because many issues are not only a crisis, but at the same time a complex problem, which you just cannot solve with 1 or 2 measures. Like climate change is a crisis, but it's also a so-called wicked problem, where you have to take small steps in many, many different areas. So this is a bit a challenge. Luckily, we still have a globally agreed policy framework for a sustainable future that covers most of the current problems, and that's the 2030 agenda with 17 SDGs and all these targets. And it really covers, let's say, all aspects of public governance. But in order to shift more to implementation and go away from only planning and making policies, is we have to shift a bit from policy to also include governance. There has been a disbalance in the past where politicians tend to like the policy aspect a bit more, and the governance is like implementation, which is not so sexy, that gets less attention. For me, the short version is policy is what we do and when, and governance is how we do it and with whom, in which kind of roles. And the SDGs are a nice compass because all the goals have at least one or two governance targets, and SDGs 16 and 17 are completely on governance. And then you need to define what is governance. We need a very broad definition. And I always say governance is how, it's about the how. So how public administration, organizations and other stakeholders, in what relation to each other whatsoever, develop solutions and create opportunities for societal challenges. And that is about institutions, instruments and the processes and roles of actors. And then it's also very important to have principles and a framework for effective governance. This picture is the beautiful framework of Tallinn, which I happen to know and have been advising on. And then on the left side you see 11 principles of effective governance for sustainable development, which are so good, I think, because 5 of the 11 are about inclusiveness, are about the social dimension. And it was said this morning several times that sustainability is not only about the environment, and it's absolutely true. Without the social and economic dimensions, we will get nowhere. And most principles for effective governance do not have this social dimension very strong. And then a key challenge is creating effective mixtures of 3 basic governance styles. These governance styles do not exist in a pure form, it's always a bit mixed, but it's really helpful to distinguish them. So there's the top-down version, hierarchical governance, the bottom-up or independency, market governance approach, and more the collaborative approach, network governance. And they represent different values and traditions. They are very cultural. In some countries there's a preference for this style, in other countries for another style. And that's why you cannot just copy-paste what works in Finland with its consensus culture, the collaborative culture, to Portugal, which has a bit more hierarchical tradition. In a book 5 years ago, I distinguished 50 differences between these 3 styles, and that creates a kind of a huge toolbox to work with. I can go into that a bit more tomorrow. The point is that each of these super styles have also weaknesses. You have lots of bureaucracy and abuse of power, or you can have manipulation and never-ending talks, or you can have all the issues you have in a real market, also in market governance. That's why it's important to try to combine these things, and that is then called governance of governance or meta-governance. So designing, I mentioned situational combinations that can also be changing in time. And you can use it as an analytical model, but also as a design and management model. I'm trying to stick to my 10 minutes, but I forgot to count when I started, so I'm sorry. Sorry, Inge? Okay. These 3 governance challenges are important. Improving horizontal, vertical and collaborative governance, and they are related to each other. This is a graph made by Ingeborg, who's sitting there, and it is included in a multi-level governance report of the Council of Europe of December last year. And to give some examples, horizontal coordination, then you talk about siloed departments, the different ministries at the national level, departments or the directorates at the city level. And we always have said You should not break down silos, but you need to them to work together, and we have the metaphor, teaching silos to dance. Make them really work together in a productive way. That's much better, because silos give structure, give clarity, transparency. So don't break them down. That's the story. And then to overcome silos, there are also many ways, but two I like very much. The first is that you need to allow some people in your organization, not all of them, to be bureaucracy hackers, people who really understand the system, also the inertia, but also know the cracks in the system. Every system has cracks, and if you can find them, then you can create change, you can create innovation, even when the rest of the organization doesn't want to change. So these people are leading people to show that change can happen. Similar is boundary spanners. People are really talented in creating linkages and trust between organizations, between silos. And about the boundary bureaucracy hackers, I think Tanya and I last night already mentioned this and had a discussion about that. It was recognized. On the vertical coordination, let's say the typical multi-level issue, improving the links between administrative levels, here mindsets are also important. What is the mindset of cities? Is it like we are the enablers, we are in fact carrying the national level, and they have to support us? Or is it more the other side, on the right side, cities carry the weight, we are suppressed, we feel almost like Calimero. So that's one thing. Here, this is an example of how you can have different ways of multi-level governance, relations between the different levels. Is it characterized by legal issues, top-down, on the right side, bottom-up? Both are very slow sometimes, and there is a third style, which is collaborative multi-level governance, which is applied in several countries already. This is about engaging effectively with stakeholders, also that you can have a 3 hours course about this. We don't have time for that, but also here we have to realize very much, and that could also be a course for problems, that the mindset should be right, not only on the government or the city side, but also on the stakeholder side. And the story of city this morning, these are examples of things that came up this morning, how to shape your own story. And that expresses also a certain mindset. Then on partnerships, further, do we map our stakeholder landscape often enough, because it can change? What about intermunicipal cooperation to overcome all kinds of problems? And what about public-private partnerships, because it is researched that this can also create lots of problems. These are just 3 of 8 principles of policy coherence for sustainable development. And I'm finally showing this because we talk about leadership this morning also a lot. This is my favorite picture of leadership, where the penguin number 1 is clearly determined, knows the way, knows the direction, but and the other penguins are following this. But there's a number 2 penguin, the deputy penguin, who is really, who doesn't look that well, is concerned, a bit nervous also. Is everybody following? And are we really going into the right direction? And this is very important to have every leader should have a deputy who's doing like that. And I think this is what I wanted to introduce: crisis addiction versus complexity, policy to governance, use of this governance styles, multi-sector, multi-level and multi-actor, intermunicipal cooperation, bureaucracy hackers and boundary spanners, leadership and leadership for all, and there may be other issues. But these were the things I wanted to introduce. And as next step, I would like to invite, we have a fantastic panel here of high-level city representatives. I think 6 cities are represented in the panel, but we have 3 others in the room. And what I would like to do is invite you to share starting with the panel, and then people could react from the room. Invite you to say something about your challenges or solutions, lessons learned, and on this horizontal, vertical, and stakeholder coordination issue. That's starting about the silo problem. So the first thing. And who can I invite? And take into account, try to remember also what we learned this morning about storytelling. Maybe you can talk about your challenges in a different way now than before today. I'm happy that also Tanya is now joining the panel. Good. Oh yeah, I don't have to do anything. So, who can I give the floor from the panel on horizontal coordination mechanisms you have created that work or don't work? And what to do about the silos and how to bring them together. Who wants the floor first? Please. The last come, the first speak. This is fantastic.
Yes, thank you. I think I have to share the story of Tallinn, what we made, how we changed the city government actually. So I filled my position as a city strategy director 3 years and 6 months already. And before that, there was no position of city strategy director at all in the city government. There was such a role, people who dealt with strategies and development projects, but they were inside the structure, they were hidden in the structure. There was no face. And in the beginning of 2021, the city system changed, and we created the Tallinn Strategic Management Office, which actually is responsible for strategic planning, financial planning, personnel planning, and digitalization as well. And all these, like horizontal topics, as what I just mentioned, they are horizontally coordinated from the Strategic Management Office across the silos. And we are making also cooperation between the different city departments. We have monthly meetings, which is led by the city chancellor, and all the city directors and different department heads are on the round table, and we are discussing different strategical objects. And that's a discussion between the public officials. We are not politicians, we are public officials. The cabinet of deputy mayors and the mayor is above us, and they are making the political decisions, but actual horizontal cooperation or finding ways how to make the silo stands is happening there. And we have as well on the working level, this kind of steering groups as well across the silos. And I think that's it for the starters. So you have to have some kind of a structure or some kind of a system or process that you should coordinate horizontally. Otherwise, the different departments in the city level, they not always are working together or finding consensus. Thank you.
Can I? Yeah, thank you. Could you maybe give one example of a success? What went well recently and wouldn't have worked well without these structures?
Thank you. That's a very good question. I think the best things that we do better now is putting together the 4-year city budget strategy and the city budget. Actually, before the cabinet starts the discussions about the next year's budget, which kind of investments we are making like pre-discussions in the top leaders who are public officials, and we are like calculating the arguments, and we are making a common proposal to the political cabinet. And one issue as well is redesigning the street space actually, how to find like compromises or consensuses, how do we redesign the street space, how many car lanes we should have, where are the bus lanes, where are the tram lines, how much space we give to the cyclists and for people who are walking. So this kind of discussions we have to bring to the top management level because we are not finding consensus on the expert level.
Thank you very much. Any questions to him about this? Further questions, follow-up questions? No? And who wants to be the second to give an example about this horizontal coordination? I mean, it's not easy because what I hear now from you, from Tallinn, it seems as if all the differences and the tensions have disappeared between the different cultures of the different departments. But at the national level, which I know better, everybody always hates the Ministry of Finance because they have too much power. And that's not so easy to overcome, that kind of distrust. So, but what you try to do is a trust-building exercise, in fact.
But as I may add, then that something is happening in Tallinn as well. As you mentioned, everybody hates the Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Finance. I worked 9 years in the Ministry of Finance before I came to the city level. And I have had those feelings that everybody hates you according to the budget strategy, or the Ministry of Finance was responsible as well for the state reform and local government reform. And no easy topics. But in the city level, I think now is the 4th year of strategic management office is running. I can feel like something is happening back there across the departments, that not hate, but some kind of sentences or opinions are coming towards to us that maybe you have too much power. Some experts on the city level say that the strategic management office should have more power, some veto right or something. It should give like strong guidances. Now we're trying to manage with soft coordination, but there are different opinions, and it's yeah.
Okay, who was next? Yeah, please go ahead, Lenka.
Hello, my name is Lenka. I'm vice mayor of Jablonec. Jablonec has got about 45,000 residents. And we are from the opposite scale of what you have just heard. We are at the beginning of sustainable governance, really at the beginning. We haven't experienced the success that would motivate people working at the City Hall. So what we have done during the last 6 months is that we bring them together at the one table, I would say, and make them talk to each other. Because until then, they have never actually talked and met professionally in coordinated way. They were used to work, everyone in his silo, because it used to be like this for 20 years. So we are at the beginning. I'm looking for the first success, and what I find, even though it's very hard and tough, and I know that people, the employees talk about my strategic team not very nicely, I would say, like simply like this. Even though it's very tough, I think we must follow what's our goal, and we must continue with this work, and hopefully one day, it may be in 1 year and 1 day, people will accept that it's very, very important to talk to each other and to cooperate. But it takes time, and we have to digest it, this process. We have to digest that we cooperate. It's not easy for them. If you are 50 and 55, it's not easy to accept a different way of work. So that's from our side.
Yeah, and there's some examples in other places that might. One example of this horizontal coordination on sustainable development issues is that in some countries, in some cities, you appoint an SDG person, coordination person for each department. That's not enough. This has happened, for example, in Romania, And what they there miss is still that these people should have also kind of a connection or access to the financial annual cycle, because without money, access to money, you cannot really move things. In Germany, which is also a country where civil servants are not really very keen to change all the time, they tried 2 years ago to create transition teams of 6 big sustainability transitions with members of at least 2 or 3 ministries. So that's a kind of a forcing people to work in a team productive way across the ministries, across the departments. Are these also ideas you could work with, or is it still so in the beginning this is now just trial and error and
It's all about the money, right? On one side, those head of departments, they complain about we are not invited in the process. Why didn't you invited us at the beginning of the process? And now, when we invite them, they say we're too busy. We cannot come. You know, it's. There's a lot of work, so I'm laughing sometimes because it's contradictory. They want something, but when you offer them the offer, they say we don't have time. But as I said, it takes time, and I'm rather optimistic than pessimistic, so hopefully it will work. I don't know whether I answered your question, but this is
of course
what came to my mind.
Yes, thank you very much. Any comments at this moment already of burning questions from the others here in the room? If not, I mean, you can always think of good questions. The panel deserves really good questions. And there are no stupid questions, there are only stupid answers. Maybe we can continue along this row and then see. So Phil, you are not from a city, but from coordinator for URBACT program in Paris. So what do you think about this issue? You don't have these issues yourself, of course, of horizontal coordination.
Yeah, this was I will not speak from a city perspective, but really from my previous experience as working for the government for a long period of time, but also for Europe. I think first we need to see if there is a problem. I mean, if you look at the ranking of UN on where we stand as a continent, the first 20 countries at world level are European in achieving the SDG. So we are, from a macro level, we are okay. But if you look at the level of the cities, no city in Europe has managed to achieve all the 17 SDG. So there is a problem between what you manage to do as a whole of Europe, but what you manage to do at local level. And then this is one of the issues, as you mentioned, because we are working on silos. And why we are working on silos on those SDG? Because this strategic framework comes from top. I mean, we have the ministries, every ministry has its own strategy, and then we don't localize enough those objectives at local level, at city level. Of course, I mean, if you are a big city, we have around 800 cities in Europe, more than 50,000 inhabitants. So from this level, I think, yeah, perhaps you can make a strategy, you can put some people responsible on some issues related to SDG. But if you don't have this capacity, it's very difficult to manage through 17 SDG, 170 almost targets. So what to do in order to break silos, but also to make achievements and to be visible for citizens that this is something it's worth to invest. I think, yeah, as I mentioned, first you need to localize these objectives, to choose what is your fight because there's something for each city to put more focus on a specific objective or on a specific target. So this can be made through a mission statement. We were hearing about the Mannheim, that they have a mission statement on gender equality. It's a good fight. I mean, you can have different other mission statements. I think one city can decide to focus on 1 or 2 missions, and then afterwards, you need to involve citizens, because society is really something that they believe in this. It's something that you can make your allies. If you don't manage to break the silos of Ministry of Finance, but you bring your people from the city, and then you'll be able to convince other stakeholders. So it's better to first focus to see, okay, what is needed at your local level, and then to build up the mass of stakeholders, of citizens, to be involved and really to support you to achieve at least some objectives and do it step by step. I think this is what is now really, we need to strive more at in Europe, to try to better valorize the power of cities in achieving these targets.
Thank you. If you're working on the SDGs, they are very much interconnected, so you can pick out one target, one goal to go for, but it's very soon you will also have to deal with the impacts on other issues. Is there maybe one from your long experience, one interesting example to mention of how horizontal coordination was improved, the silos were crossed, were overcome in a country, in the city, from your past experience? Something that was maybe a very strange idea, but worked?
Not so much, but I think it's very much depending on also each city position and what are the challenges that they are facing. There could be a different recipe for each city. So I will not say that I know what should be the focus, but I think, I mean, as I mentioned, Mannheim gave us this example of gender equality. I think it's really something that if you want to focus on and to have a mission statement on those targets which are related to gender equality, of course you should link with other related objectives, and then you can move forward, and afterwards you are going to build up this base with other targets. So what I'm saying is that we need to choose to really to invent something which is also concrete for your citizens, and also to have the means to achieve it in a medium period of time, in order to see that it's not just about strategy, but it's also grassrooted within your city.
Thank you. Sorry, I have another short question for you, because I suddenly thought about it. There is a well-established method to work across different interests, the mutual gains approach, the Harvard negotiation approach, or how you can, there's many ways to call it. Do you know of if in the context of Urbact there have been cities who have introduced that? I mean, my own example is that almost 30 years ago, the Environment Ministry in the Netherlands made a 3-day training on this negotiation method obligatory for all civil servants and the whole management. And that created a mutual understanding also, of course, about how to achieve success, win-win packages across silos. And that was quite a big thing. But maybe you haven't.
I mean, in Urbat, what we are doing is, in fact, we are very much relying on participatory approach and integrated planning. And then for every network, for every city, you know very well, because you are part of a Urbat project, you need to create a local support group. And then the city hall is, of course, leading the subject, but they try to involve all the stakeholders. And of course, it's not easy to discuss with private, with NGOs, depending on the subject of your network, of your policy. And then we notice that, in fact, at the city level, local level, this is working quite well, in fact. This trying to bring the relevant stakeholders at the table and try to reach a common objective. What is more difficult is to have the territorial integration, and then with different layers, administrative layers, up to the national. This is something that we didn't manage to get through, I mean, through an Urban project, but I think it's part of a success story if you don't manage to really to embed your project in what is on different layers in your country. It doesn't work. But yeah, I mean, in Urban did work. This multi-stakeholder involvement, it's something that it's also to build up your credibility on what you want to achieve at local level. It's something that if you have all the other behind you as much as possible, this is something that, works.
Okay, thank you. Tanya, may I go to you? What kind of problems have you solved where nobody believed that you could solve it in terms of silos?
Probably,
Just one small question.
Maybe I'm not the person to say that I have managed to solve a problem that I was not trusted to, but when I was listening to your presentation, I remembered that actually I entered the local governance in 2008, and I was appointed as deputy mayor with the with the area of sustainable development, which means that there is something called a destiny concerning my presence in local governance, and especially in engaging in local sustainable development. At that moment, I was engaged with the single engagement to provide for horizontal coordination among the different departments and units, actually what you say, to make the silos dance. And it was really a challenge, because these were the first steps of Bulgaria and my municipality in the European Union. And at the beginning, it was really a big challenge. At that moment, the challenges were of one type. Nowadays, they are different. So we've learned a lot. And obviously, since I've been now among you as a mayor of that city, probably I, to some extent, managed to achieve some coordination. But what I want to tell about my experience and my municipality is the fact that thanks to the European membership, and thanks to the fact that especially Gabrovo municipality as a team is quite ambitious and really trying to achieve its goals, we managed to become part of many different projects, and we really gained a lot of expertise, a lot of experience, which was at the first level very important for the administration, because without motivation you cannot manage with the implementation. And more importantly, we managed to show at the beginning the citizens that things could happen on the ground. And step by step, we started investing in things that are more invisible, but that are extremely important for the sustainable development perspective. And it is to sit on a table together with business, together with academia and education, and try to speak of the same language at the beginning, just listen to each other. This started, I think, with one international project which was related to the innovation gap. And because we are a city with university, a city with really ambition to regain the business and industrial development in new perspectives, we really managed to create a solid basis. Now we have a sustainable platform which is called Regional Innovation Center, which unites us, public authorities, representatives from the business and academia, and a lot of partners in this entity. And we are very active in different projects, and I'm very happy that together with Espoo we are going to be, I think, part of the new regional innovation valleys. So what I'm telling is that step by step we are upgrading our little achievements. And something that I still have to resolve somehow with my colleagues is really related to the fact that in our administrations, and especially in mine, we still divide our work between European and local, which is something that is creating silos. And somehow this is probably part of our culture, part of our insufficiency or complexes we have to overcome by gaining more confidence, and maybe strategic sustainable development goals could be something that, if they are measured properly on different levels, they could show also where we are progressing, because yes, Bulgaria and our territory is not as rich as Finland, not as rich as even Greece, but compared to the starting point, we have made some progress. And being part of so many initiatives, we can learn from each other and find basis to improve our challenges. And something pragmatic, thanks once again to our friends from Espoo and especially Mr. Markova. We are the city which probably is championing one type of initiative called innovation camps. We organized this initiative for more than, I think, 7 years. And this is a very successful collaborative model that brings together people of different age, of different profession, with different beliefs, working together on societal challenges for 3 days, following the methodology that was now developed by JRC, and finally reaching on an idea that is prototyped. And I can tell you that our strategy that we are now implementing, and that is trying to refer to the Sustainable Development Goals, contains project ideas that are designed within these formats. And I can tell you that all the ideas that were born in this format, they are continuing to evolve, and the majority of them are implemented. So this is probably part of our ambition to become also a city part of the mission for achieving climate neutrality, and hope that this will influence also our vertical partners in our country, because to some extent, because of the cascade of crises, we are feeling a little bit more lonely nationally, and we'll be happy to share and to exchange good practices also in Gabrovo, but with the participation of the national authorities.
Okay, thank you. And on the vertical part, we will come back later. Somebody's very happy with that. It was also very good. Any questions from the panel to you? Maybe? Yes, please.
Sorry. You said you cooperate with business, right? How do you manage to how do you succeed in that cooperation? And second question was, I forgot it, so the first question. Thank you.
Well, it took us more than 10 years to be consistent and to try to engage them and to convince businesses that we are not wasting their time and that we are not trying to manage their activities, but to involve them in decisions that are important for the quality of the place that they live. And I think in time, the majority of them are very happy when we create something that they used to have in their dreams. And then they come to us and put us our next duties and tasks. But the fact that we managed to work together on different initiatives and projects make us understand each other. And I think COVID was something that made both parties very connected. I'm not a very big fan of crisis management policies, but unfortunately, we, especially in Bulgaria, are more productive in such periods, which is also something that brings lessons that could be useful. So it takes time and persistence. This is part of our motto of the city.
Did she answer your question well?
I will have to talk about it with you later on, because I have more questions even on that topic.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Now over to Agios, Dimitrios. I have two speakers here, Stylianos or Vasilis, and one has the voice. Indeed, well, please.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the mayor of Agios Dimitrios, Mr. Mamalakis, is having an issue with his voice, so I will be representing him during the discussion. So I'm Vasilis Zacharias. I'm quite new in politics, I would say. I was only elected a few months ago, so I'm just in my 6 months in politics, let's say. But Mayor Mamalakis had a vision, because for 20 years we had the same administration in Agios Dimitrios, and for the last 13 years was the same mayor, that unfortunately they didn't have a vision about embracing all the different digital technologies and how we can use it and utilize it, to say it better, to transform our cities and the way we're working. So one of our goals is to bring this digital transformation, to break the silos that we have during the different services, which is also part of the Greek culture, that people tend to work alone and not really collaborate and cooperate with each other. And this is what we want to achieve, also with a common goal towards being closer to European standards and working together in a more collaborative manner. So there has been, I would say, even though we are, as we said, a new administration, only a few months in Agios Dimitrios, based on Mayor's vision, we have started a lot of different things, like trying to break also the silos between the different municipalities. Because imagine that in Athens, all the municipalities are more or less interconnected, so there is just a small street separating one municipality from the other, where we all face common challenges. So, as per the Mayor's vision, we have started to do an active collaboration, a network with the surrounding neighboring municipalities, with a goal to face common challenges and issues, like we have a big streak, which is actually the second biggest in all of Athens, Vatica, that we want to really bring life to it, preserve the ecosystem, and create different elements that will help our societies, from creating pedestrian roads, create cyclist roads, places where families can actually go and spend time, quality time, next to the city. So we have a lot of work to do, and if I may add, I think what is important for us is to really create a cultural shift in Agios Dimitrios based on how the Greek people are used to work, collaborate, and try to bring this. And we can only achieve that through open, transparent communication with each other. And ourselves, we need to become role models. We need to be there to inspire the people and motivate them to make the change towards a common goal.
Yeah, that sounds very good, but especially if it's so deep in the culture to work on your own and not together, that can take a lot of time. What I learned from being part of a peer review in Tallinn was that pilots, if you want to change something and nobody's really ready to change, you can always start with pilots. And you also hear collaboration pilots, joint projects between different departments. I know from the Netherlands there was once a joint project directorate between the Agriculture and Environment Ministry that became so successful that it was quickly abolished again because it undermined the power of the individual ministers. But these things are also part of the game.
If I may add on top of that, I think that although we all faced very hard times in Europe with the pandemic of COVID, still for Greece, I saw that this, because I'm in the technology sector for almost all my professional career, it really brought up the elements and the advantages that digital technology can actually provide us in better collaboration and being open. And I think this is something that even through a pandemic, we can keep the good elements and we can see the opportunities and work on creating this cultural shift. It will be a long road for us, but still we are fully engaged and committed in proceeding.
Indeed, also small steps help. Thank you very much. Questions from the rest of the panel at the moment, or we go to Mannheim?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. My name is
Christian Hübel.
Exactly. I'm the director for democracy and strategy in Mannheim. And we have a long way behind us with the big change reform, which was beginning in 2008. And some things were good at the end, and some things you learn about it. So try and error is the culture of us. I mean, you said it about the multi-crisis we have. We have the VUCA world, but we also have in our cities 3 logical systems. We have the politics with the logic, which are running for elections and saying we want to have less boundaries for the economy. The other side, we want to have more educational justice, etc. pp. Then you have the administration with the silos we see here with the logic, that the planning institute says we know best about planning, and education institute says we know best about how to educate our children. And then you have the civil society, which has the enterprises, all the citizens, etc. pp. And they all have different point of views also. I mean, during COVID, we have about 80 million people who were who know how to make politics with an epidemic, so it was crazy. This is all very critical, and at the moment, I think, as in every city or country, we need a common vision, so that everybody, first of all, know where we want to go. And when you have this, usually you have a little side effect that everybody is looking that is coherent with this vision, and then you have usually the biggest mistakes cut, check. No? But then you have to look how to bring the people to work on this common mission. And at the moment, I think we have, with the SDGs, a very good framework, because the SDGs learn us integrated thinking. They also learn us to have a classical plan to check X circle, to say, okay, we plan something, then we do something, and then we measure it, and then we evaluate it. And so you come also in the politics more into an evidence-based discussion. And they are also have, I would say, at the moment, a dynamic that we say, okay, we have a global crisis, but we also have to look what we are doing locally for our citizens, and that's the main point. And I think the SDGs are predestinated to bring this all together. No? Think globally, but act locally. At the moment, I mean, we all saw it in the European elections. We have the problems with the negative populism, who is explaining us very easily how to solve this crisis. No? And at the moment, we need, I think, a positive narrative, which is clear to the people and explain what is good for us. This is a challenge, I know, but I think we need this positive narrative, and I hope we're working on it for our cities and get, with the support of Barbara, etc., help in this, because we need this positive narrative for us. We also need to, when we're saying we are dancing with the silos, to orchestrate the dance of the silos, that we come to an outcome, a positive outcome. And this means we have to look about a common vision, we have to look about processes, but we also have to look about the culture of an organization. I mean, there's a quote from Peter Drucker that says, culture is eating strategy for breakfast. So you have to change the mind of the people, and this is sometimes hard, because we all know it, change is hard, everybody wants to live in his comfort zone, and when you're talking about technical things with the silos, everybody knows it better, no? Because that's my job, I learned it on the university, we have to do it in this way. And then bringing them out to say what is our common goal and how we can achieve more together, then I think you can break it more up, but you have to bring the people together. This is a lot of discussion and it's hard work, but at the moment, as we can see it, in the end, for us it was more successful.
Thank you very much. It brings me to the observation that I think that we need a lot of organizational psychology, sociology, and anthropology probably to get these changes and to change the mindsets, because it goes so slow. And if you just announce the mindset will now change, our culture will change as from next Monday, that's the best way to organize resistance. My little experience is that you always have to build on existing cultures and not try to first destroy them, because people believe in the existing culture as something that's valuable for them. And then if you can convince them that adding something or changing a few things, but not everything, will work better, then you have them. But that's the experience of all of you, I suppose. Any questions here at the moment? Yes, please, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it's more like a Also a comment and a question for Christian, because I hear what you say and I fully agree, but given the rise of the populists in Europe during the latest elections, how easy do you think it will be for us to convince the people? Because they hear, you know, simple, easy solutions with no cost, and what we're trying to achieve for sustainable growth and common vision for Europe is more difficult. It requires people to, I would say, step out of themselves at to some extent and transform themselves. So how do you see this?
Yeah, that's the point where I said we need empowerment in administration, which is explaining to the people what we are doing and why we are doing this. And the populist parties, they are really clever in it. They are on TikTok, for instance, in Germany. We are not on TikTok due to data security and all these things, and sometimes we don't have the, I would not say the power, but the feeling how to go on this. No? It's very, no, we are making a press and we are on Instagram, we are modern. I think we have to be more open for these new methods of communication. Then we have to fight the fake news, and we have to make more in quick videos or in data visualization to bring the information to the people. We are writing, also here in this city council, we are writing papers and papers and papers. We are also transmitting the city councillors speaking or meetings here via live stream, but to be honest, it's not interesting. And how we make it interesting for the people, and this is a great story to say, we want to save the world till 2030, but first of all, we want to save Mannheim, to look what's in for Mannheim first, and then we help others. And then to say, okay, what we are now here discussing, for instance, we are discussing energy, electric energy in this quarter, and why we need this measurement, and therefore we need this money. So to make it more simple, that the people can say, now I understand it. And from the simplification, I think in the end there comes trust for more complex answers. But at the moment, our trust in the service is about 58% for the councillors and 57% for the information politic of the city administration. Not bad, but not enough. And we have to do more enough. Also, trying hard is not good enough. We have to achieve more.
Okay. Yes, please.
So just a reaction. I think, people cannot be wrong. People are right when they are voting. I think there is a need to have two. We need more Europe, in fact. We have some policies where we don't manage to achieve too much because we don't have enough Europe. And then this is mainly for several policies, including migration. But then afterwards, we need also more involvement at local level. I think that the message that is given by local politicians, it's really trusted. People are trusting their mayor. And then this, we are not doing enough also for the SDG, I think. If you are giving a message from a local level, you need really to build up on those local politicians which are really trusted by their citizens. We see this in France. Mayors, they manage to get re-elected almost all the time, but the national politicians, they are not being trusted by the people. So there is a gap in communication between national and local, and this we need to really to bridge this gap, and then involve local politicians in conveying those messages, including in the national elections, is something that we need really to invest more. But I think those two elements, more Europe on some policies where there is no way to progress if you don't have enough Europe, and then really strong involvement from local politicians will manage to reach better the citizens in order to convince them about what we want to achieve.
Okay, thank you. Can we now we fly now to Braga? I see a question from the audience. First, after Petro. Yeah.
Thanks.
So, Pedro, please.
First of all,
Braga.
Louis, let me congratulate you. Great presentation. And you are bringing here very interesting topics. And the question, teaching silos to dance, I think that like a DJ. So if people are not dancing, I think that we need to change the music. And so I think it's also, as a contribution, I would say that leadership, I think it's also related with leadership. And I think that after everything was said, so I resonate with most of what the previous speakers share with us. But I would say, well, a lot of thoughts. One is nature. It seems that nature can teach us nature-based solutions. Well, in one hand, we have, this is animal behavior. The silos, the territories is animal behavior. And we are animals and we behave in our territory because we are in a comfort and safe zone. Maybe that's why the silos can keep their momentum. On the other hand, there are some other animals and we should learn with them, like the bees or the ants, because they cooperate. Even yesterday night at the dinner, we had, some of us had mushrooms, and it was the cantarellus, and the cantarellus, it's a mushroom that lives with a tree. So it's very important for them, with the roots of the tree. They exchange services, and they gave minerals to the tree, and the tree gave water to the mushrooms, and they cooperate, and they are delicious. By the way, they are delicious. But back to the leadership and the communication, because we had a very interesting day workshop with Barbara, and at the end, I think that one thing is also to communicate. And I remember a say. I cannot recall who is the owner of that phrase, that it means in communication 3 sentences. One sentence is, tell me and I will forget. Show me and I will remember. And engage me, involve me, and I will understand. And I think that this thing is key to understand. We need really to embed it in ourselves in order to then behave differently, because we are talking about changing behaviors. Our natural behavior and also our education system, I think everywhere in the Western world, was more selfish, and now we have this challenge to change me. If you turn the me letter, it's we. So I think that it's a big quantum leap, really, to change from me to we. And also to forget they, them, because it's very common. And by the way, I interact with a lot of municipalities, with a lot of foundations, private companies, and everywhere is the same challenge. You have silos everywhere. It's not only the municipalities. And I think that there are, at least in the private sector, they can use some, in the rewarding system, some, let's say, they can incentives with money, because someone said that the most sensitive part of our body, it's our pocket. And if that's true, if someone puts things that we like in our pocket, we value it. But I think that there are also other rewards, that it's not money. I think it's more emotional, more, let's say, the emotional wage, that the feedback, the celebration, the praise. I think that there are different ways for a leader to value the contribution of someone that really try to broken the silos and give the example. I think that the issue is even more complex than you describe it in a way when you said, well, and it's true, Portugal, culturally, historically, it's more hierarchical. And let's say Southern Europe, our culture. But I work in multinationals and global companies, and then is everywhere. But it's true that Portugal has that culture embedded. But I think that is more complex because nowadays, a leader or any one of us deal simultaneously with different structures. We can deal in a day life, in our day, we can we can deal with hierarchical, we can deal with metrics, we can deal with networks. So at the end, what we need more and more, it's not only to be smart citizens, smart leaders, but we need to be also to have emotional intelligence. Barbara, it's of course an expert in that area, but emotional intelligence, social intelligence, so other intelligence, I think that we must learn. I think it's also part of the soft skills that we need to learn. So I think it's really very, very challenging, and it's really also, I think that leaders can somehow give the example, lead by example, and try to break the silos. I live with this comment, is that really I think that there are reward systems, not only related with money, that can have a role there to try to incentivize, to give incentives to the right behavior or the desirable behavior in what concerns cooperation. And again, I think that nature can also teach us a lot of lessons.
Thank you for going so much into the human dimension of this issue, and I fully agree. I'm still a fan of Hershey and Blanchard's more than 50 years old scheme of situational leadership, the different styles of leadership you have to do. When you have a team, there's always somebody you have to give instructions at 8 o'clock in the morning, and others you can empower and only see every 2 weeks. That is what the different styles of leadership also are about, and this is linked to different governance styles. On teaching stylists to dance, which is a very nice metaphor, Inge, who invented the term once, and we organized the training at the European Commission for European Commission officers on teaching stylists to dance, on the skills you need to learn. And the point was that we got the wrong people. The people who subscribed were the ones who already understood, because they immediately jumped on this nice, sexy title. So a year later, we did it again with the most unsexy title we could invent, the same training. We then called it Working Better with Others. Most boring title. And we got again the wrong people, because now we got all the people who make problems with everybody, who could not really collaborate. So it's difficult to find a middle way, I think. But yeah, I think we have now Wille and maybe somebody else. Yes, please. Oh, yeah, Barbara, come in.
Hi, I'm Dr. Barbara Karanian. I'm so impressed with all of you. Pedro, you had me at the tell, show, engage metaphor. That was really poetic, beautiful. So my question for all of you, or any of you that would like to answer, if you're going to be featured on the cover of a famous magazine in your country or in the globe, like Time magazine, as the woman or man leader of the year, what would it be for? So you've been featured as the leader, the government leader of all time for the year. What would you like to be known for?
Speak up. The teacher asks, so you have to answer.
The professor, thank you very much. Louis, do you like my question? Louis, do you like my question? Okay.
The extra mile runner.
You want to be known for what?
Extra mile runner of the year.
Somebody who goes the extra mile. Yeah.
In my case, I would love to be as a servitude leadership. Be there, humble, working for the people.
Yes, Lenka.
Me, I would like to be a leader that brought politics to people and people to politics. So someone who managed to engage people in things, what's happening around them.
Anybody else inspired at the moment? It's not mandatory, but please go ahead.
I think we all agree that we will be very happy if we have on the cover as engaged leaders. I think this is something very, very nice.
Anybody else?
May I say another
Okay.
front? Because it's two magazines. One was the one that you mentioned, and the other one, the Gardener of the Year. And I explain why. Because gardening, I mean, when we sow, we want really to have the tree or the whatever we sow, we want to have the output of it. When we prune, we think that the next shape is better than the previous one. When we transplant, we think that the new is good, the new way. So gardeners believe on future, because if someone doesn't believe on future, could not be a gardener. So hope, the gardener is a hope spot for our humanity. Okay, so I would like to be known also as the Gardener of the Year.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other last, because this round is then closed on silos and on horizontal coordination. Any last comments at the moment? And on this side? Nobody? Then let's go to the next round about working better across the levels, the different levels of government, of administration, where there was already a comment that European is not really, should be part of the normal level of series. Europe is not foreign affairs. It is part of our integrated multi-level governance thing. Who has experiences to share about about difficulties or solutions or suddenly very smooth operations between the different levels of government? I mean, sometimes it is like I said earlier, when I was in Tallinn last September, I first had a meeting with the SDG coordinators of the Ministry of the Government, and then a day later with the city of Tallinn. And it turned out, and I thought, okay, they work like 500 meters from each other, so they must be in contact all the time and exchange and whatever. No, the ministry didn't see really reason to discuss things about the SDGs with Tallinn. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Louise. Yes, you described the situation in Tallinn actually. So I think first of all, there is two ways of cooperation. The one way or one pillar is political, and the other way is expert level or public official level cooperation, because in Tallinn has been ruled by only one party over 10 years. Maybe it's already 20 years, I don't remember the time, but a couple of months ago there was a small revolution and they took down the former mayor, and now we have a coalition government who has like 4 different parties in the Tallinn city government. I think it was much needed, this kind of change. It's not the matter of question which party you like or not to like, but if you rule one city like over a decade or over 15 years, then it's too long time. There are not so much like innovative solutions are created, and that's why the state government actually ignored Tallinn city government on the political level, because that concrete party has their main positions in the Tallinn city government too long time. And there was like a political river between this state level and the local level. And mostly Estonia has 79 local governments, and the cooperation between, for example, the state level and the local level happens between the state, the concrete ministry or the concrete minister, and the Union of Estonian Municipalities and Cities. But the union in Estonian case is not a strong union. It's quite weak, and it lacks resources, financial resources, and the personnel as well. And that's why the positions are not so strong every time. And now we have to think so that the different municipalities have different problems, and from time to time they should have direct access to the state level, because Tallinn's problems, because maybe 30% or more of the Estonian population are living in Tallinn, we have different kinds of problems, and we want to talk directly to the state. And the political situation I cannot change, but what I can do is to influence people work in different levels. So I previously worked in private sector, and after that I worked 9 years in the Ministry of Finance, and now I work in the local government level. So if you have different perspectives from your background, then you can better understand the viewpoints of different stakeholders. And I think that's the key. And what our former mayor, Mihhail Kõlvart, did very well, he started the strategic management office, and he started also the renewable of the city organization, and he changed a lot of top managers in the city systems, and a lot of them came from the state level. And they had the vision that the state had, they had experience from the state level, and now I have a lot of personal contacts in the different ministries in Estonia. That's my personal contacts, but it will help, and it's already had helped me, because now I can call or write to the public officials on the state level, I can organize meetings, and I can organize some background work before the political decisions. And I think the key is to like search cooperation in every way. And it's not good when the government has not changed in years and years, and the same things happens in the organization. So if you have been like 5 years in your position, then it's a good time to look in the mirror and think, should you continue or should you change position?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and has any of you experience with what I've called real-time collaborative multi-level governance, or in shorter term situations or mechanisms, committee, whatever, where local, national, regional and national, if you have 3 levels, are sitting together to discuss a huge issue, a big challenge, where you won't know from the beginning that all levels will be involved in the implementation, and where then from the beginning you discuss the issues, the problems, whose problem is it, how can it be solved, what kind of division of roles could there be, and things like that. In my old country, the Netherlands, they have a system for that, where there's a big issue of this type. They create a special committee from local, regional and national government to discuss it, and to before they start creating a new law or a new policy. Do you have similar examples in different countries?
I have an example,
Please.
if I may. Yeah. I have an example, not exactly what but I think that could be valid. Yesterday I was sharing that I'm involved in a online academy for sustainability, literacy on sustainability, and there is this financial institution in Portugal. They have insurance and financial services, and also at the, let's say, the headquarters, the back office, and they decided together, so we co-create content in order to empower 150 sustainability ambassadors for that financial institution. And we went through in the last months, and it has been very, very interesting, and I think that will have an impact in that institution, because what they did was they mixed, they working together different levels, different hierarchicals. So you could have a top manager, a C-level, and to have a trainee in those sessions, because what they want is really to create and reinforce sustainability, ESG culture. So I think it's a good example, and I hope that this example, at least in our market, but in other markets, can have other following that approach, because it's really to try to fight silos. It's really to have and to improve collaboration and cooperation between different areas and different positions, different hierarchical levels within the organization. And because what they are doing is really to empower 150 sustainability ambassadors. And next October, so after summer, because it was an online course, we will have an in-person session, face-to-face, and we will mix in the roundtables, we will mix some guest experts that delivered master classes in that online course, and with students. I don't know the exact word, it's not students, the employees from that financial institution, that the ambassadors, it's better said, the ambassadors will be part also of the roundtables. So, and we will see what we are going to do next, again, co-creating the following step, because so far the feedback was very positive, and it's something somehow disruptive for the traditional, because the financial institution, it's an old institution, but a leader with vision of the future, inspire and motivate, and with a good story. I think that that organization, it's now moving to the future, I would say.
Thank you. I had to think of investing in the collaboration skills is very important. And I know that Romania, for example, is next year rolling out a training program on sustainability for 2,000 local civil servants to create like a larger group of people who know about the linkages and the connections and about holistic thinking, and that's a good idea, I think. Any other comments, suggestions on this vertical thinking? Maybe also a question from my side. Has anyone from you experience with working directly with the European Commission and forgetting about the national level? When I worked at the European Commission, we loved working with cities directly because the member states, the national level, was very annoyed about that. And it was always nice to have a reason to annoy them because they had too much power. Please, who, Tanya or first?
Just brief intervention, because I was not willing to share negative experiences, but because we live in a country like Bulgaria, which is for 4 years in different crises, I have to share that it is very good when you have the opportunity to work directly with European Commission and to avoid the national authorities. And I have to say, and this is my personal observation, maybe shared by some of you, that sometimes politicians show how strong and important are place-based policies, and quite often bad politicians violate these very important multi-level governments in the vertical component. So, for example, Bulgarian municipalities are suffering because of the dynamism that we have in our national level, and unfortunately we are having very unstable governments, which affect the opportunity of citizens to have access to important investments. And this is something which is a real challenge. But on the other side, I would like to share something that is I believe a positive token also coming from our country. We now have started with the implementation of our regional development law, which establishes a new entities called regional councils, and they rely on the model that Paolo shared, having different representatives, and it is up to us, the local leaders and national authorities, to find the way through which these entities will be really speaking to the citizens, to the businesses, and in 3 or 4 years we will be able to measure progress that will be related to competitiveness of our regions, and even for overcoming the challenges that the northern part of Bulgaria have compared to southern, thanks to more investments in the southern part. And one more recent decision that is also related to improving this cooperation and collaboration, it was decided that 50% of the European money will be directed to sustainable development in the northern part of Bulgaria, which means that when we have resources and good decisions, we can really engage with better implementation. So this is what I can share with you.
Thanks very much. First, I think, Vasilis, you wanted to say?
Yes, I like the thoughts and the comments of my co-speakers here today on this topic. It's closely connected to the previous question about breaking the silos, because even at the multi-level, we're still talking about different silos at different levels. I do not remember which philosopher said this, and I don't want to quote it wrongly, but if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, then you need to go with company. And I think this is what we, as humans, we need to understand as citizens, that we really need to be open, transparent, and collaborate with each other. And especially when you are at the city level, we are part of the communities. So we actually live in the communities, we live the city problems and the city challenges, let's say, while politicians at national level, for example, they have maybe a better overview of how things are progressing and what is achievable, if I may put it like this. But still, it's part of our work to really raise up those challenges, those issues, sit with them at the same table and try to find common solutions and the common ground to move forward. And I think this is important, starting always with a very transparent and a collaborative perspective in life.
Thank you. Christian?
Yeah, I think there are some borders. On the one hand, there are legal borders. For instance, in the earlier days, we were not allowed as cities to apply for funds from the European Union. We have to go over the federal state and sometimes over the national states, and then you can imagine what happened. The second thing is we have some cultural borders. I mean, the language from the European Union and the people who are working there is sometimes very abstract. No? And I think sometimes it's also not working together on eye level, but from both sides. The local level sometimes says, oh, EU or national state, they don't know what's happening into the cities. And then you talk to people from the national state or the EU and say, oh God, the cities don't know what's going on in whole Europe. No? And so I think there has to be more communication about it, more communicating tubes about it, so that you can understand each other. And I also think you have to empower more both sides in the thinking of the other, because on the global level, usually you have the big overview. No? National level, European level, what do you have to do for our geographical overview area, also for achieving social cohesion, all these things. And I think on the local level, we have to experience this really what works to get tangible results, because the good thing they want from the top level is not always the good thing on the ground level. And so we have to communicate more together.
Yeah, and that's why you need to communicate in real time and not after 7 years, because that's how long an EU initiative takes to get implemented at the local level. Up to 7 years. And then when the Commission starts something, there's always some years sometimes of discussion and agenda setting. So sometimes the ideas that land on your offices and your desks are in fact the solutions for problems of 10 years ago. And that's logical, and that's all how our democracy works, but sometimes you wish that there are also faster methods. Yeah, thank you. Any other comment on the multi-level dimension directly? Yes, please,
Just
go
a few
ahead.
thoughts from my side. I think, this is really difficult to do it because, multi-level, it's about borders, legal constraints, administratives. It's quite difficult to bridge all these borders and constraints. I think we need to see first about subsidiarity. So really to see who must do this policy. This is really important to have clarity on who is doing those specific policy. Sometimes it's not clear. And then afterwards, you need to empower the level which has the responsibility of this. Oftentimes, cities, they take responsibility for a lot of topics and policies, but they don't have the budget to do it. There are some countries that really rely more than 50% of the budget from transfer from the central to the local level. Sometimes if it's not the same political party, they will not have enough budget transfer to be able to implement all those policies which are entrusted to them by EU or by the national level. So I think here there is no size fits all. Each country has their own way to make this work better. From my experience, when I was working for the government in my country, in Romania, we had one time a task at the technical level to make a strategy to attract EU money. So there was this new tool created by the EU called Inter-Territorial Investment, ITI. And then there was a political decision to have just one ITI for a very specific area, the delta, with high natural constraints, protected area. And then this was one of the issues, that how we managed to bridge this multi-state but also multi-level, because there are different territories, different administrative. And then what we managed to do is really to rely on expertise. We brought World Bank with us to be really to have something to impose in face of politicians. So bringing someone which is really trusted, it's something that can support you to really to make happening this working across multi-levels. And then also to have politicians with you. Also, it's really important. A mayor can speak with several ministers without any problem. You as a technician will not be able to break the silos. But if you have a good mayor which can reach directly to a minister, it's oftentimes much easier to do it that way. Afterwards, also from my experience, we managed to make the strategy. We got the money. It was €1 billion for a very small area. But then everything that has been built up to make this strategy and to bring this budget has been forgotten. And then to implement, you rely just on the locals. And then who got faster, got money. And then all those objectives have been really nicely set up on a paper. It was not so much implemented. The money has been spent, of course, with good project, but then you need to keep this momentum for a longer period of time. And this is what is difficult if you don't have the right institutional arrangements in your country. And I think this is really something that it's still, something that we need to work on it. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. Please.
Yes, if I may, I just wanted to add a small comment that from Tallinn perspective, we strongly support this kind of solution or that the cities must have more cooperation directly with the European Commission, because in the local level, as I understand now, 3.5 years later in the city system, previously was in the state level, that everything is integrated and there are no easy solutions. You cannot invest like €1 here and €1 there, because everything is connected to each other. And that's why we want to start discussions maybe sometime in the future that maybe if the European Commission rethinks its support schemes to the cities and to the states, maybe there should be more integrated solutions. Support money, that you don't not get the money for just building their tram rails, maybe you should have the money also as well for the to reorganize or restructure the whole like say urban space, and as well buy some new apparatus on the rails. So that's why it should be integrated. And the one I want to make fun about myself and about Estonians, that we have this saying that the best breakfast for an Estonian is another Estonian. That's why we have constant discussions with the state level. But now I think Tallinn in Estonia is a forerunner about sustainability governance and trying to integrate the SDGs in everyday processes. But it's a pity to say that the same thing is not happening in the state level. In the Ministry of Climate, they are formulating now a new climate law. They are calling it like climate-proof economy law or something like that. But the view is very narrow. The view is not holistical and horizontal, and SDGs are not the base for that. And they are naming these kind of like structures in the ministry like green transition units, and it's very narrow view. And I think that we should grow out from the green transition and move towards to the SDGs approach. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm getting the feeling that these three topics, horizontal, vertical, and stakeholders, there's a lot more even in it to exchange ideas and experiences. I would suggest to have the last 20 minutes talking about engagement of stakeholders and starting with partnerships. I showed a slide with a critical view on public-private partnerships because they can be very good, but often it is in the end the private partner who wins and who takes the risks and so on. But sometimes can also be good. I think if you want to go into a partnership, you have to think of two ways. What can the partnership mean for me? But what can I bring into the partnership also? What kind of expertise, if it's more than money? And there's also, I talked about different mindsets. If you want stakeholder involvement, then you need organized stakeholders, apart from citizens. Some weak groups, weak interests are not so well organized. And in my past career as ministry person, manager, I then gave some money sometimes to stakeholder organizations to organize their voice better so that it came out louder. And I thought that was a okay thing to do. And then the topic of skills, because if you want an NGO or business organization to be more than just informed or consulted, but also to help to let co-create or maybe even have co-responsibility for a project or for an action, then you have to learn how to be a co-producer. And that's really something different than being an advocate. Advocacy is the core thing of NGOs, usually. But it's a different capacity because you don't need to trust, you just send. And if you want to be a co-producer or a partner, you have to be willing to take co-responsibility. And I've seen that a lot among NGOs, that they don't want that. And so there's a lot of skills to learn also and experiences. So who would like to share an experience on stakeholders, on new partnerships, and so on? Please go ahead, Lenka.
We started to engage a business stakeholder last October. We organized an event, afternoon event. We wanted to present the city projects, and the second half of the event should be gathering their problems or topics to work on and then discuss. Unfortunately, my political colleagues, including me, we didn't get on time the first half. So the first half of the event was too long. So there was not enough time to discuss and to gather their topics. So it was a good experience, but not very successful. But then I realized after some months, when I was in contact with the people from business, we went for a working lunch and we were talking. So according to me, and I'm not saying this is something that works all the time or every time, according to me, engaging business stakeholders works much better if you have a personal relationship with them. So I contacted some people, or some people contacted me. We went, as I said, to a lunch, and we had time to discuss really face-to-face, eye-to-eye, the commonly shared topics. And then we started, I think we are not at the top of the potential, but we are building the stakeholder community like step by step, very slowly. But then I think at the end it's going to be solid. But it stands on the personal relationship. And one other observation, unfortunately, the business people, they have got problems that we cannot really solve from the municipality. They fight with huge administrative processes. It's legislation, and we cannot do anything about it. So we can't help them with everything, and so this is something that we cannot solve. So our experience.
Thank you. Next, who would like to say something about this stakeholder participation?
Just one.
Please, yeah.
Sometimes it's about the format, how you engage with stakeholders, because of course it's easy to call people in the city hall to organize a meeting, and then you are the leading, you are safe in your building, so you don't take any risk, let's say. But sometimes it's better to get out. I know from previous projects, Urbach, so one project was dealing about mobility, and it's all the time difficult to take decision on organizing parking, less cars. There are different conflicting demands between shops and citizens. And then one idea was, to close the street and organize a dinner and convey everyone involved. And then they tried to discuss during this long dinner for the entire length of the street. It was quite a nice way to engage. Yeah, sometimes, you can also, there was another city in France, again, they put a video booth in the park and then let people come to the video booth and say something about a specific policy. It was really something that quite interesting. So I think the format is sometimes quite interesting to see what is the best format to engage with the different stakeholders depending on the policy that you want to
I fully agree. Formats are important, and also being flexible when you are in a format. I once was with a minister, and there were 500 citizens. It was about rural areas, rural development, a lot of farmers there, and they were quite opposing to the minister. So we had made an agenda, and in the beginning, these citizens and farmers, they said, we don't want to talk about your topics. We have different problems. We want to talk about our problems. And then we said, okay, let's talk before the break about your problems. If you promise that after the break we can talk about the things we are concerned about. And that worked fantastically. But otherwise we would have had a failed evening. And so formats matter. Anybody else? Please.
May I would like to share that I already mentioned that I'm very honored to be part of the advisory of the Council of Braga. And I think it was really a very interesting approach from the mayor and from the executives of the Câmara de Braga, because there are different stakeholders involved there, business, universities, research institutes, citizens. So at the end, I think it's a very interesting forum, and again, I'm honored to be part of, because there also we learn from each other, we cooperate, and different angles can contribute also for the executive and the mayor of Braga really to implement or to assess different options. So I think that then the most important thing is that, as someone mentioned, then is really to make it happen in terms of meetings, productive meetings, because it's really helpful, for sure, to have the different views from different stakeholders that are as much interested in the success of the city as the mayor and the executive. So I think it's a good example, and Braga, in that respect, I think it's good. The vision of the mayor, and it's really in the right direction, according to my opinion.
Yeah, and I wonder if some of you have experience with mapping the stakeholder environment, because that's something you really need to do maybe every 6 months or 3 months, because things are changing around you, and if you don't see that, then you won't see coalitions or fights between important stakeholders that can influence their behavior to you. And you can also, I mean, I was working with farmers' organizations from the Environment Ministry, and they were very defensive and very negative until I discovered that there was a young farmers' organization who was thinking very differently. So it involves also the young farmers. And that's a way to find sometimes new stakeholders. It doesn't always have to be the same ones.
And if I may add something, is that at least in Portugal there are 2 apps where someone can look or go into the app and see how the ESG or the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, are in their municipality. So you can have an overview and to see then, to have a zoom and to have your own municipality and to understand how things are progressing or how things are evolving. In that council, in the Braga Council, there are also room for other people from other cities that bringing in experience from best practices in other cities. So at the end is really cross-pollination. Like the bees, we can cross-pollinize the knowledge and the best practices. Sharing best practices is really also very helpful.
Yes, thank you. Go ahead, please.
A question, a request. So far we are not successful enough, or at all, I can be honest, is in engaging young people. So if you have any tip,
right.
where to start, how to attract their attention, I'll be happy to hear. Or maybe now, if you
Tallinn has a solution.
Yes, maybe a part of a solution. So, firstly, I would like to answer your question so that in our experience, that's maybe a narrow experience, but the key is cooperation with the universities. Because we have a special like a public official working in my team. She has the responsibility of how to coordinate the cooperation between the city departments and the universities. And we have written down agreements with every big university in Estonia. And we have mapped the capabilities of the universities, and we have mapped the needs of the different city departments. And we are trying to mix it together. We have different roundtable discussions, and what happens next, or what happened already next, that we have different project-based initiatives together with like students. And we are engaging the students actively in the decision-making processes in the city. For example, we have this old city hall in Tallinn, that is under heritage protection. It needs renovation. The cost will go sky high, I think 200+ million euros, etc. It's not used right now, but we made like a mini architectural competition together with the youngsters, and we got like tens and tens of nice ideas. And we make cooperation with the young architects, and we have Tallinn has opened a year ago when we are Green Capital year. We had the title. We opened this participation hub. It's like a special room in our strategic management office building. We have the different digital tools, solutions. We can explore there the digital twin of Tallinn with VR glasses on the big screen. And we are making like different engagement events there, and we have had already several discussions with the students. And we have cooperation with different professors and lecturers in the universities, and they're making their practical like lessons in our rooms, and we are like giving the students as well the city perspective. The public officials are making speeches and having discussions with the students, and I think it's a very good example how you can like engage youngsters, and we are looking the students and the youngsters that in the future they could be potential workers in the city system.
Thank you very much.
Unfortunately, we don't have a university, but probably this is not an obstacle, right?
Okay, Pedro, and then very short, and then we are in the last 5 minutes now, and then Ville.
Okay, very short, and sorry I don't want to monopolize, but I'm suspicious maybe, but I organized in the last 17 years a Green Fest event. And it's not green only for environment, it's sustainability more and more. And in Braga, late September this year, at university, we co-organize this event, and the history of the event, and it's greenfest.pt, Portugal, greenfest.pt, and we organize an event where it's cross-generation, but we have a lot of youngsters. I'm a strong believer that really the youngsters or the young people are the ones that can change behaviors. At least my generation, I mean, it's very difficult, my generation, to change. Maybe our grandchildren can help us, grandfathers and grandmothers, to change, but it's harder, it's tougher. Just to give you an idea, last Green Fest event, we had 3,700 children, or I would say youth, not at university level. And so, at the end, you can co-organize your municipality or with the university or other schools, public schools and private schools, whatever. Some local private companies, some other public companies. At the end, could be something with different stakeholders, organizing an event where under the same roof you have content and practical content, so people can do workshops and hands-on, and to involve them in part of the solution. So if I made another joke, but if I can help you to organize a Green Fest event in your, at least to share with you, and could be remotely, to share with you what are what was the path for some successful events and what to avoid in order not to have something that doesn't work.
Thank you for the public offer. Everyone hears you, so
it's a promise.
The deal is done.
The deal is done?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes, I would like to go to Ville, and then do you have a question or a comment or something? And then we have a very last 2 words round at the panel, because.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Lenka,
don't ask a complicated question.
We are actually going to Braga in September, so we will have chance to learn this firsthand on site. No questions, just a quick comment and an end note from lead partner side. And wonderful examples. Just to bring out one more. I would say that Mayor Mamalakis, every day, he goes 7 a.m. to the city hall to run his city. Afternoon, personally, he goes to the high school to help students to get to university. If that's not leadership at the local level, if that's not engaging your citizens at the local level, please tell me, advise me what is. No, so tomorrow morning, we will have the chance to have a peer-to-peer, city-to-city exchange where we'll deep dive into these issues. What is important for me, two things. The most important thing is that we are having this discussion. What we've witnessed today, starting first with Barbara's amazing emotional engagement work, storytelling, is that we started to have more questions than answers. Yesterday evening, when she asked that, okay, Ville, what's the outcome, what do you want? I said that in the end, if we are in a situation where we can constructively, maybe even disagree with each other, show our emotions, show our views, then it's a success. And this is what I've heard throughout the time. Thank you, Luis, for amazing facilitation, by the way. So thanks to that as well. And I think this is the right way. We have the right people asking the right questions. Answers will follow. And just the final thing, that's the third one, and then I'll promise to stop. Several of these distinguished high priority, high level people today draw either a continuum or some kind of loop, representing the idea that this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. We are in this for the long term. So with this word, a huge thank you for amazing panel, audience, and Luis, thank you for facilitating.
Can we have a last round of takeaway? 2 words, 3 words, 4 words.
Just to say that, again, leadership.
Very short.
Okay, leadership, about leadership. I think that we need leaders and to improve our skills in what concerns leadership. As I said, soft skills, but also to have more breath, let's say, to blow the fire, to blow the embers. I do some coaching also, and there is a say in coaching, okay, and terminating that if you assume that everybody in this room, we have fire in our chest, is a metaphor. We have fire in our chest. We have embers in our chest. If a leader blows correctly, I mean, the talent, the skills, the energy will flow. So we need leaders with more breath.
Thank you. Christian, even shorter, please.
Yeah, shorter. I try to. I mean, the one thing is learning from each other. The other thing is perhaps simplified. Simplified in making tools that can easily be implemented in administrations, but also simplify in communication what is the outcome of it and the worth of this round, but also for the EU. And my wish would be we would have a holiday day for the European Union, because this is a worthwhile thing. When everybody was saying in Hungary, in Germany, whatever, this brings us the EU, and not only talking about other things. And we can, yeah, we can think about it then.
Thank you. Now, even this is getting a competition, even shorter. Vasilis.
Yeah, forgot the mic. Very shortly, I think for us in Agios Dimitrios, since this was actually the first time that we were fully engaged in these kind of meetings, we live inspired, more committed, and looking forward for fruitful collaboration and knowledge sharing between the rest of the network cities.
Thank you. Tanya.
Thank you for the extremely inspiring day. I think this is something that most of us rarely do, and thank to all of you that brought us here and made us so close to each other. And I think that we all are on a mission to reach sustainability, and in this mission everybody is invited and should be provided with the opportunity to contribute. And one more thing, I would like to invite all of you next month in the period 19-21st of July, when we are organizing our Eco Festival. It is in the mountain, and I think this is something that is very closely related to what we have exchanged today and what we have as a common vision and opportunities in the next day. So if you don't come this year, next year we will be expecting you. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Theophile, last words, one.
The fact that this idea that up to now we have worked a lot on policy, so at EU level we are very good in fixing policy objectives, but not so much on governance, how to do it. And I think from this network, from this Fullback project, if we could get a blueprint on some steps that we can do on this governance mechanism that we need to put in place at local level, would be really nice, that we can also promote to other cities and other institutions.
Okay, thanks. Inka?
I'm grateful for any support that I get from you. Thank you.
Last one.
It's a lot of pressure to speaking short, but I think that we have to find the best practices from the cities, from this network, and to share it and to implement it, because Praga has shared a great example of this Sustainability Council. Tallinn has made the first climate assembly. We have as well participative budgeting, maybe others have it too, but the key question is, let's learn from each other and answer this question, how we can make this kind of initiatives permanently as a part of the city organization. And last but not least, cooperation, and let's formulate a cities coalition and talk directly to the European Commission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, a marvelous panel. Thank you all, and a big applause for the panel. And sorry, it's 5:03, so it's not my style.